Well, a common question I get a lot is about stacking pedals. And specifically, a question I get a lot is stacking the Tumnus with different pedals. Most popular are the Clarksdale and Euphoria. Question-wise, anyways. And I also wanted to show you another thing too, which is stacking it into a clean versus a dirty amp, because two totally radically different things. So, that said, playing through deluxe reverb, and my clean tone sounds like this. And the Tumnus by itself. The Clarksdale by itself. And Euphoria. Now let's do some fun with stacking. Notice I don't have the gains all the way up, they're backed off a little bit. It's my personal favorite setting. So we'll tweak them though. That was Euphoria. Now we have the Tumnus and the Clarksdale instead of the Tumnus and Euphoria. And just for fun, let's turn them all on. Notice all that noise, that's gain. Not necessarily clipping, but gain. Where gain is kind of like, it's kind of like a multiplication factor of signal volume. So more or less. So now, let's turn the gains all the way up on all three pedals, and we'll do Tumnus and Euphoria. There's my Tumnus. Let's add the Euphoria in. And now the Clarksdale. And again, Tumnus by itself. Now, let's swap the order around real quick and see what it sounds like. Alright, so I have swapped the order. Now I'm going Euphoria, Clarksdale, into Tumnus. If I do the Euphoria into the Tumnus sounds like this. Wait, actually this is the Euphoria. Adding the Tumnus. Now let's stack the Clarksdale with the Tumnus. So, as you can see, it kind of, the last pedal in line really kind of flavors the EQ more so than it does first in line. So what I mean by that, now the Tumnus by design is kind of mid-rangey around 1K. So now what you're hearing, even though stacking different things into it will kind of change the texture and the EQ a little bit, you're still going to hear that 1K peak, where if you put that Tumnus before everything else, it's going to kind of tighten everything up. And this is on a totally clean amp. Like I'm running on about 3.5 or 4 right now, which is fairly clean for this particular deluxe reverb. If I crank it up, it's going to be a whole different story. So let's jump into that and I'll show you what that sounds like. Alright, so the deluxe reverb is maxed out now. My bass tone sounds like this. So it's a little flubby, not very tight in the bottom, and it's distorted like crazy, right? And this is the reissue. It's not an old one. All right, now you can of course stack pedals. You can also stack pedals into a dirty amp, which is still kind of stacking dirt, and you get something still kind of cool. So let's start out with the Euphoria. Notice I got the bass all the way down. That's like the neutral bass position. It just kind of adds bass. Euphoria is being fairly transparent, is not going to tighten things up like the other two pedals. So you might hear a little bit of fizz on top of that note. That's just the tubes driving hard and driving the phase inverter hard and the power tubes and a transformer and all that good stuff. So it's going to have, the clipping is not going to be the same as like a pedal. So it's just different. So let's go on to Clarksdale. And now on to Tumnus. So a lot of guys actually like to crank the gain down, crank the volume up, and use it as a booster. That gives you this sound. So it's radically different than stacking pedals together. Completely, totally different. Now, what's going to happen if we kind of manipulate the bass control on the Euphoria before the Tumnus? Kind of gets a little fuzzy. Some may like this, some may not, but it's a good excuse to tweak some controls. And actually, I'm gonna start out with the gain all the way up on that amp still. Let's turn this bass up on this Euphoria. And now, let's turn the gain back down to something clean, and we'll do a similar experiment. Okay, so another fun thing to do when stacking pedals, as we already talked about, it totally changes the sound which way you have it, right? So let's put something bass heavy in front of something that's more mid heavy, and crank the gains up a bit, see what happens. Hang on, I need to reset this because I had the volume like all the way up, and that's not gonna work. We'll just drive the amp doing that. Now, me personally, I'm not a big fan of that type of thing. I have seen some people use it, and some seem to like it that way. So, there you go. There's a sound clip for you. So anyways, I hope this was informative a little bit for you. Hope it helped you. Maybe it gave you some ideas, some things you could try with some pedals that you have. And appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you next week.